Sports in general and athletics has always been a part of my life.
With weightlifting, I feel like I was competing more with myself, not just improving my max weight, but my mentality of I have to come in, I have to come do this every day. I can do that. I can do this on my own.
It was something that felt challenging and also provided me relaxation and also provided a little bit of a mental break, and helped to potentially work through just normal life issues.
In a group of women with 6 women in a boat crossing the channel, jumping in and out of the boat, doing changes in the water, being in the same stroke. To have that connection with 5 other women while helping your boat go as smoothly as possible. If you get out of beat with one another, you don't move forward.
My softball team, it's a sisterhood, so that's kind of our sisterhood community that we bond with. We all have different bonds with each girl. I have different bonds with each and every girl on the team because each and every girl on the team is different in their own way, and we all respect that and let them be their different person in their own way, and we don't judge them for it, and we let them be themselves.
I would say that I find a sense of belonging with other women in sport. I feel like no matter what you're doing, it is a sisterhood. So whether you're on a soccer team or you're in the gym just weightlifting, first you're a woman, and then you are a woman of color, and then you are a woman of this religion or this affiliation. Going into a gym, generally, you're going into a place where it wasn't really built for you. So whenever you see other women or other people from your faith who are there with you, it already creates that belonging.
We're all exhausted, but there is this energy that, man, we did it. Yeah, great play. Oh, I remember that play. And it just creates this whirlwind of this energy that was just palpable. You can just feel it in your body, and you feel it all around you as electric.
In nature, I feel peace, the vibration of the earth, and whether that's in leaves moving in the wind or the ocean, waves, or anything that is kind of showing how we're all in motion together.
When your body is depleted, your ego fades.
It's that same energy of just we're all in this together, moving forward.
We're often told where to find the sacred in certain places, at certain times, and in perfect moments. But life has never been that tidy. Sometimes it breaks through in the middle of everything, in a breath, in a touch, in a body that keeps going. Even in small, unseen acts of care, it shows up. It hums beneath ordinary moments, asking us to notice. So let's take a moment and journey together with our whole selves, listening for meaning in the everyday, for connection that surprises us, for something vast moving quietly through it all. And maybe just maybe we'll discover that the sacred was never actually far away, but it was here, within us and between us all along.
My name is Angie. I am 35 years old. I have been doing public health and population health for about 10 years now.
My name's Doug Legursky. I'm 39 years old. I am currently a stay-at-home dad, which is probably the most challenging job that I have ever had. Before that, my career path was in sports. I was a student at Marshall University, played football there for 4 years, and then I went on to play in the NFL for 8 years underneath the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Buffalo Bills, and the San Diego Chargers.
My name is Casey Fromm. I am 42 years old, and I've been an administrative assistant for 10 years.
My name is Kimlee Huang, and I'm 41, and I consider myself a holistic healer.
My name is Shireen Ahmed. I am 49 years old. I am a multi-platform sports journalist and university educator. I teach sport media and sport journalism at Toronto Metropolitan University. I've been teaching for this will be my 6th year, and I've been doing full-time sports journalism for about 15 years.
My name is Sophie. My primary work is in yoga, and I have been teaching and sharing yoga for 6 years now to all ages.
Yeah, my name is Wendy. I'm about almost 48, and right now I work as a physician assistant.
I'm Zamora. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student athlete. I play softball.
My name is Barb Kraft. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm 65 years young. I am a U.S. Navy veteran. I am a retired nurse administrator. And right now I am doing community chaplaincy, enjoying retirement while attending seminary.
My name is E, and for the last 14 years or so, I've been an exercise physiologist. I've been a strength coach. I'm in corporate wellness. I've done ultra marathons, a little bit of everything in that realm. I'm also a partner. I'm a daughter, which is very important to me as well. I've worn many different hats and had many different titles. But one of my favorite things to always hear is coach. It's just simply coach. Hey, coach, can you help me with this? Hey, coach, did you see that? Coaching is where I've spent thousands of hours watching people push past their limits, watching bodies grow, watching bodies change, watching people have a whole different view on their confidence. In those moments, something deeper often appears for me. Think mile 24 of a marathon, an athlete taking a quiet breath before they step out on that field for the big game. A group of teammates in sync with one another. Those moments feel bigger than a performance. To me, they almost feel sacred. And that realization, unfortunately, took some time. I grew up Southern Baptist, so that was where I found God. And I was taught that God resided in those four walls: Sunday mornings, scriptures, pews, etc. That's where you went to encounter something sacred. But as my life changed and things unfolded, something inside me began to shift. Over time, I started noticing that the same feelings that I associated with faith were showing up in other places, like a trail at sunrise, or in the discipline of my training for marathons, or in the exhaustion when I finally finished. Also, and the quiet determination of me chasing a goal that I actually thought was impossible. And I've seen the same thing in my coaching. I started thinking and questioning what happens when two of the most meaningful parts of my lives collide. Those parts being sports and spirituality, or wellness and spirituality. At first glance, they often seem separate. Religion asks us to show up for our soul, and sport asks us to show up for our body. But the more time I spent in both places, the harder it became for me to separate them at all. Because both ask for discipline, both ask for commitment, and both often happen in community in some way. Scholars have begun to notice something similar. Sociologist Meredith McGuire writes that religion is not only something that is defined by institutions or doctrines, but something that is lived in everyday practices, in the ways people move through the world, form relationships, and often create meaning in ordinary life. That idea is called lived religion. Instead of beginning with official beliefs, lived religion often begins with experience, what people actually do, how they interpret their own lives, and most importantly, where they encounter meaning. When I started seeing wellness or sport through that lens, I began to see something fascinating. Training routines started to look like a ritual to me. Team practices were where community and bonding actually formed. Breathing before a race can resemble a prayer. Movement becomes, a form of meditation. And the body itself becomes a place where people search for meaning. This film began as an exploration of that intersection, not by starting with theories or doctrines or, anything official, but by actually talking to people themselves. In this film, we follow 8 individuals whose lives sit at the meeting point of sport and spirituality. They come from very different backgrounds, so among them are an NFL player, an Ironman athlete, a marathon runner, a yoga practitioner, a softball player, and also professionals who support athletes and wellness in different ways. Their spiritual identities are also just as diverse. Some identify as Christian, some as Muslim, some describe themselves as spiritual but not religious, and some are still figuring out what belief actually means to them, and that's okay. Yet, all of these people share something very important. Each of them have encountered moments in sports or wellness that feels bigger than the activity themselves. Moments of connection, moments of purpose. Some even describe moments of transcendence. Through their stories, this project explores a simple but powerful question to me. How does sport influence the spirit? And how does spirituality shape the way we move, compete, and live? Because sometimes the search for strength is also the search for meaning. And sometimes the places we expect to find the sacred are not only the places it appears.
The most recent wellness focus I just finished this December was running my first marathon. It was miserable. I know some people love to run, but I hate it, and I really don't enjoy it. The marathon taught me some important lessons, just the payoff of showing up to yourself. And so that was definitely an interesting endeavor, and I'm glad that I did it, but it was an adventure.
The way that I arrived at weightlifting is probably via soccer and rugby. So, you kind of do it as a supplement or in the off season or conditioning and whatnot. And at some point, I think I just took that upon myself as something that I could go do individually, almost meditative. I could go to the gym and improve myself in order to be able to play soccer or to be able to play rugby.
I love aqua aerobics. That I've always loved water. I find something incredibly spiritual about water. I feel like there's a huge remembrance of God for me through water. I was born on the east coast of Canada. I'm definitely an ocean baby. I'm a water baby. There's something majestic about the ocean for me. Yeah, a pool and a quick class is not the same thing, but it soothes me incredibly and it gives me a peace. So it kind of centers me while I'm exercising. And people kind of downplay this exercise, and I should be running 10Ks, I'm sure. But this is what's suiting me in my mental health right now is the water.
Being able to find your space in the water, listen to your own heart, your breathing, then going to the bike and listening to your body in a different way. Those are all things where you're being aware of others as well as yourself to get to the finish line.
Growing up in football, I started playing when I was 6 years old. Football and exercise go hand in hand. I spent many more hours in the weight room than I ever did on the football field. I remember starting to get into the exercise part of it, understanding that our body is our tool, and that if we're going to perform well on the field, we have to train well and train hard off season and in the weight room.
I did grow up playing different sports. I played tennis mostly through high school, but yoga has been primary for quite a few years. Coming out of college into post-grad and full-time work, I was able to find a studio that worked with my location, and I started going often, and it really kind of clicked. I feel like everything else that I needed.
I grew up with a mom that has chronic migraines, and so I've always felt like I needed to do something for her. I recently discovered frequencies and sound therapy, and I did a deep dive on sound therapy and what that entails, and it just kind of made sense. My love for healing, my love for music, and it just combined into this one massive thing where I can do both and use all the things that I learned and know and have a heart for. So it just kind of, came together. So yeah.
For some people, movement builds strength. For others, it becomes a form of healing. But sometimes it does raise a deeper question. Is there something spiritual in these moments?
I do not consider myself religious, nor would I have considered myself spiritual up until a few years ago, but that has shifted slightly. A few years ago, I stopped drinking and started regularly going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And it was in those meetings and doing step work and working with a sponsor that my spirituality increased.
I would consider myself spiritual at this point in my life. I grew up with part of my family being religious. I was baptized. I still feel very connected to people, to the earth, to things on a larger scale, and I feel like I would label that as spiritual at this point.
I grew up Muslim. It kind of ebbs and flows, depends on just the season of my life. Sometimes the rigidity of religion is something that I identify more with, whereas the spirituality for me is more intrinsic.
I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I feel like as I've grown older, my understanding of spirituality has grown. My community is in my church, but I feel like it's more about our connection with God and not quite the religion itself. What I love about the church that I'm a part of is that they teach us how to think for ourselves. It's not about forcing religion. I feel like the relationship with God, with each other, God is in and around us always. I think that's the important aspect, how we can be of service to each other as a community, fight for justice for those who can't speak up for themselves. It's all love, and it's all about equality, and just it's a very welcoming environment. And I feel like that's the foundation of a really great church.
I was a football player. That was my identity. I was a football player through and through. I was a family man among that. And, I was really just kind of had my niche right there. The last couple of years, I had an identity crisis. And so right now, my identity is of I'm a child of God. And, there's so much religious background that, I've been a part of or been in conversations about. And I've just been very excited at how much the Lord has stretched me in those areas.
So I'm a practicing Muslim woman. I'm an observant Muslim woman. I wear hijab by choice, pray by choice, eat halal meat by choice, raise my children as Muslim. In terms of a spiritual side, spirituality to me is a very personal thing. My relationship with the creator of the heavens and the earths is between me and the creator, God Almighty, Allah, as we call him in Islam. He's who I turn to. He's when I'm in prayer, if I need something and I ask, and it's Ramadan, so I've been asking for a whole lot.
Some moments where I have felt connected to something bigger than me have mostly been in nature.
Sport allowed me to be in community with people that expected nothing of me other than to just be doing my best. Being able to help somebody when they're struggling on a run, or coming alongside somebody who's panicking in the water. Those things are done in community.
I have a little bit of a hard time finding community now at this point in my life. I work remotely, and so I don't spend a lot of time in public places during the week, so I don't have a lot of opportunity to meet new people. And so I have to make a very conscious effort to find a sense of community. I am a part of a running group, which I run with sometimes on Saturday mornings. However, it's hard being sort of a newcomer to a group because they are all established. They've been in the group for a long time. And so it's hard to kind of find your place in an already established group. So truth be told, it is very hard for me. I don't have a large sense of community at all. I don't have a lot of friendships here. And it's difficult. It's difficult.
In wellness communities in particular, for example, let's take the example of Ramadan, because it is that month. The idea that it will be disruptive to that sports space to include it. I've dealt with this professionally so much that when I talk about uniform accommodation or hijab inclusion, the reasons why we couldn't were so ridiculous and futile. I was like, you're not going to let a 13-year-old play basketball because you think that her hijab means something or that it's suppressive to her, but you're okay to have a big cross on the wall and you're saying don't bring religion in the sport. Or one of the things in terms of hijab inclusions, we don't want religion on the pitch, but what about all the religious tattoos that all these soccer players have? What are you talking about here? And to sort of who gets to decide that?
My usual favorite wellness focus is flag football. In the last several years in the islands, they have a queer league that to me provides both the social aspect and the exercise. For me, the flag football, I don't know about other people, but I have a good bit of social anxiety. So if I can be doing something where I meet people, it lets me be active and interact when I'm ready and around a topic that I don't have to think of. And sports are building, so you're going to collaborate with your team, you're going to meet people, and so it's kind of a built-in community builder with a little less formal construct. But I will go hop to another island, catch a bus if I need to, and I stay at friends' houses so I can afford to do this. To show up and play one game for the weekend and then go home. But it's the people that I see.
I feel like in the work that I do, I find that I help people come to their holy moments and sacred experiences. I feel like I get to bring that to them, and not that I'm bringing it to them, that I'm somehow creating a space for them to feel it. I'm allowing energy to flow through me so that they can experience their holy moments. And I feel like maybe that's my calling. I feel like I am kind of a vessel.
Purpose for me is definitely driven by intention. My entire faith is about intention. Like, Nia is the word in Arabic, and it's a really beautiful word. Like, it actually is a reminder to be cognizant of what you're doing, and I think that's like a check-in with yourself. And when I'm at work and I feel purpose, like whether I'm reporting on, I do a lot of work on politics, the collision of politics and sports or culture, and what that usually does is that also brings in stories that I report of people in the margins. And that gives me purpose too. Another sense of purpose is community and building community and what that looks like. And not just in the cultural or religious way. I believe in community, period, whether it's a community of women in my office. I work for CBC Sports, and we did Paralympic coverage. And from the digital side, it was a predominantly women-led, cohort that was doing all this. And it was so important and impactful. And I consider that my community in a lot of ways. People who I'm aligned with, not necessarily religiously, but socially, politically, irrespective of the God you pray to, or if you don't pray to any God, if you believe in the same things and the same types of, I keep using the word justice. It keeps coming back into here because for me, it's so intertwined with what I believe in terms of my purpose and greater purpose and justice in sport. Like, I believe in justice, I believe in sport, and I believe in justice in sport. And I think I don't want to mince my words. And purpose for me is very much rooted around what I do. I want to be intentional about the meaning of what I do and like what I want my goal to be, pun intended, if we're talking sports.
I am not religious, but I do use Bible verses for athletes, and I have a wristband, and I have a card in the in the top, and it has, I think, 3 or 4 Bible verses that just help me stay focused in the game and not get out of hand or make more errors than I need to. It just kind of keep me upbeat and happy while I'm still playing, even if it's a tough game, it's a tough loss, just to keep me focused in the game.
I'm very thankful for those things that I went through, both professionally and personally, to get me prepared, right? Get me prepared for the moments now where I'm, helping coach 60 kids, and I can, have peace and patience and love and encourage them in a way that points back to Jesus.
For some people, religion offers purpose. It offers belonging, and it can even offer language for meaning. But for others, religion has also been a place of tension. It's been a place of disappointment or even distance. And sometimes, when people leave these institutions behind, the search for connection, the search for grounding, and even transcendence does not always leave with them.
I definitely appreciate reflecting on the relationship between religious communities and the wellness community, and where there may be maybe some misunderstanding or friction, or just lack of knowledge, and then that becomes fear, and that creates distance, and then people feel like things aren't for them. I always knew it as a physical practice, and learning that it is so much more. It is a way of life, but it doesn't have to be a religious way of life that cuts out anyone else or anyone else's beliefs or anything you're already doing. You can make it work for you. We had a kid come up and say, my mom said I can do yoga, but I can't own. And we were like, totally. But I think having the space open for communication, airing those moments of confusion can definitely help moving forward.
What am I accomplishing here? I could be a Stephen Smith on a podcast and make oodles of money. No, that's never going to happen for me. Or I could be a co-host on a feminist sports podcast called Burn It All Down that I co-created and co-hosted with 4 American friends and who I love dearly. We're a community. do I feel there's something beautifully spiritual about that or religious about it? Yes, because that was one of the first places that I was emboldened to write about Muslim women in sport in such a public way, or to tell those stories, or to have women, soccer players from Afghanistan or from Saudi Arabia to come on and talk to me about what they're doing in their sport. I was given a place, and that is my purpose, and that's my community, and that's what I do professionally.
What has emerged in these stories so far is not a simple argument that sport is religion or that the wellness community should replace religious community. It is something more textured than that. What these interviews make visible is that people are often encountering meaning, ritual, belonging, transcendence, and even healing in places that are not always necessarily recognized as traditionally sacred. On a field, in a gym, in a yoga class, or even in the water, in the repetition of training or the ritual of training, in the act of showing up again and again to something that asks something of you.
The most pivotal moment I've had in my life where I felt connected to something larger than myself was after I finished my first marathon. I had worked so hard to get there, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had never run that distance before, much less in a race. And after completing it, I found a little corner of space by myself, and I just sat down and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed because I felt so proud of what I had done and what I had accomplished. But I also felt like there was something larger than myself that helped me do that. It felt as though, because my grandfather had run that race several times, he and I were kind of running it together. I don't know, it sounds weird to say, but it felt as though he was on the path with me. So I felt surges of energy at certain points. I remember feeling calm the entire time, except for when it was over, when I was a blubbering mess. And I just feel like he was a part of that moment, that he was with me.
Every time I step out on the field, I step out, breathe, like just say like a prayer in my mind, and then I go out and I do the best of my ability. And you kind of just have to go with the process. It's like a trust the process moment.
And at the same time, these interviews also remind us that spirituality is never abstract. It is through bodies, it's through stories, through histories, through relationships, through communities that either make room for us or they cause us to shrink.
I grew up very conservative religious. So I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, and provided me a lot of community. Felt safe in those spaces until I got older and figured out that I was quite gay. And then that doesn't quite fit as well with a lot of the conservative religious beliefs. And so over time, trying to rework those ideas and find out how to be okay with both myself and a God that loves me as I am. I think one of the biggest hopes and dreams, not just of people who are queer, but the biggest gift that you can give anyone is to accept people as they are, where they are, for who they are. And I think that is one of the biggest hungers of our hearts, and the thirst that we have is to be able to have and be part of a community that where you are and who you are in this moment is enough, and that people are happy to see you for who you are. And I feel like probably that was the biggest hunger when I first found this, because I didn't have a lot of queer community, and I had lost my religious community because of who I am. And kind of didn't expect that. I haven't revisited that time in a while, but yeah, so I think at that time there was just, I had no community, and I didn't feel like I had a space that I was comfortable and could be accepted for who I was. And to be able to go and play and not have to talk about crazy deep stuff, but have people be happy to see you and have at least a rebuild of community. There could be a happy, healthy life and still value the spiritual portions of the world and not have to excise those out of you completely. So for me, the sports league that I was in provided a spiritual place of extension, finding other ideologies, and not even to the point that my entire view on life changed, but just that there could be a happy, healthy life.
So there's this concept called third culture kid. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's about essentially where the children of immigrants or people who come, you're trying to balance several cultures. So finding belonging whenever you are too Arab for America, or too American to be Arab, or too Muslim to be in Southern West Virginia versus being too Appalachian to be anywhere else. Finding a sense of belonging is kind of hard, and I still struggle with that today. Part of spending most of your time in America is managing the stereotypes. There is the stereotype that Muslim women are passive, restricted. So I think participating in sport in general kind of opened the eyes of some people who would have otherwise not been exposed to that. And so I think that goes back to the idea of a bigger purpose. So I think you're, even as a 16-year-old, slowly fighting stereotypes. But when I remember going back to Egypt, and my grandpa was kind of surprised that my dad still let us play soccer. Not necessarily because it was, like, oh, girls can't play soccer, but they just thought that you needed to be doing something else that is more, I guess, enriching. But I don't know that there was anything more enriching than being among a bunch of other women playing a sport. You're building a community in that way, and being able to belong to a group is probably one of the more impactful things that has happened to my life. There is a misunderstanding that sport competes with faith. I think they do generally misunderstand that, your body and your soul are not competing priorities. There is no dualism there. It just becomes an extension of it. So I think that is something that the sports community could probably do a better job of understanding.
That's why part of Meredith McGuire's work is so helpful here. McGuire argues that religion is not only something found in institutions, doctrines, or official beliefs. It is something lived in everyday life, in ordinary practices, habits, relationships, and even ways of making meaning. In other words, if we only look for spirituality in formal religious settings, we may miss where people are actually experiencing their depth, their purpose, and also their connection. And that is exactly what these interviews began to show. For some people in this film, movement becomes a ritual. Training becomes discipline in the deepest sense of the word. Community becomes a place of belonging. Breath becomes a grounding practice. Repetition becomes a way of returning to oneself. Even something as simple as a verse on a wristband, a movement of stillness before a game, or the shared rhythm of a team can carry spiritual weight. But the picture itself is not uncomplicated, because these interviews also show us rupture. They show us institutions meant to hold people can also wound them. That religion can offer language, structure, belonging, but it also can become a place of exclusion. Wendy's story makes that painfully clear. Angie's story also reminds us that identity is never just one thing. Religion, ethnicity, gender, nationality, and belonging all overlap in ways that can make any space feel partial, complicated, or even contested. That is where Dorothy Soleil's work becomes important for me in this project. Soleil refuses that the idea of spirituality is only private, disembodied, or detached from the realities of life. Her work insists that sacred is actually encountered in lived experience, and in suffering, and in attention to their bodies and oneself, in the relationships, and in the struggle to become more fully human. And that matters here, because what these participants are describing is not escape from embodiment, it is meaning through embodiment, through fatigue, through breath, through effort, through trust, through community and care, and also through showing up for one's whole self. What becomes clear is that the body is not separate from the spiritual life. The body is one of the places where the spiritual life is felt, even negotiated and expressed. And once that becomes visible, the question shifts. The question is no longer only whether sport or wellness can be spiritual. The deeper question becomes, what kind of communities are we building around these practices? Communities of performance, communities of exclusion, or communities of shallow self-improvement? Or are they developing communities of care, discipline, honesty, belonging, and transformation? That is where this project turns next. Because of religion and wellness both shape the way people search for wholeness, then neither can afford to ignore the other. And if both have the power to heal and the power to harm, then perhaps the most important question is not where the sacred is allowed to exist, but what helps people become more whole when they get there.
Religious communities often misunderstand athletic community and wellness as something separate that doesn't need to come into play with one another. Except, of course, you get to see in church communities when, the Super Bowl's happening and when the playoffs are happening. That's not it, right? It's got to be about that community sees one another in the race. It's got to be religious communities seeing that those other teams out there are the Buddhists, the Islamists, all of the different intersecting faiths that believe in the divine in different ways. We're all in this race together, and it's called life. It's beyond the marathon, and we all end at different times in our race, but we need to be able to recognize each other and the strengths and be able to cheer each other on in this race called life.
When I grew up, Adventism, and maybe more specifically the small community of Adventism that I was in, some of the concern was around whether athletics would be substituting God in a way. Either you're worshiping your sport, or that it was wasted time because it wasn't intentionally spiritual. And I think that the pieces that are missed are that the spiritual portions of the world or religious portions of the world are best learned while woven into the day-to-day life. And the opportunities to build community through sports, the opportunities to build natural conversations through sport, in which we learn far more and accept far more than whether I heard something told me. While my body is active, I will take in more information than while my body is seated. If I'm involved in something, I'm more likely to consider another view or lens. And there's always the conversation of what and when and how, and the focus. Even in the community, there are conversations, and there has to be not just a common interest, right, but a space in which you can provide an opportunity for all types to move into their world. Those, I think, your church groups and not so much your outreach, but your activity groups provide an anchoring location for people to come in, and then by extension, because their community is already in the pew or near the pew, then the pew can be filled. So
we offered chair yoga for seniors at a church. And it was this group of 70 to 80-year-old women who came every week, and they had their own community. This was building community for them. This is building health and longevity for them. They definitely valued it. And I was also just aware in that space of not using anything that would alienate them or conflict or butt up against any of their beliefs.
Church can make it hard for those people to kind of get in and hear the word and to understand it and to build that relationship, or they can make it really easy. And I think that's the goal, right? You know, it's makes it really easy to go to a football game, or it makes it really easy to be part of that sports community, you know, and the more our church can do that. And again, the church isn't the four walls in the building, you know, it's us. I am the church. How can I make it easy for those around me to like be excited about it, right? And then if I get 1, 2, 8, 12, 20, 120 of me, and we all go meet in that building, how can we all do that, right?
The Melbourne Cricket Grounds, the MCG, is like a cathedral. And sometimes in sport, we have these metaphors like, you know, Madrid is the Mecca of soccer, where they'll say, or this is a cathedral. So there's all these religious connotations that meaning importance and impact. When I was in the MCG, the All Blacks performed a haka. And there's like 90,000. It's like the Beyonce concert of like, basically, is like wild. You could hear a pin drop. And I had goosebumps everywhere. And the haka is this a deeply spiritual cultural practice and something that I was so honored to watch. And I was like on the 7th level. I was so high up, but you felt so connected. And even though it's not something, a community I'm a part of, I was so impacted. But that's one of the things I'll never forget. It was an absolutely brilliant moment and something that I think about a lot.
Maybe the question was never simply whether sport is spiritual or whether spirituality belongs in sport. Maybe the deeper question has always been, where do we actually encounter the sacred in our lives? These stories don't point to a single answer, but rather a pattern of people finding meaning not only where they were taught to look, but wherever they show up with their whole authentic selves, whether it's in movement, in breath, in ritual, in prayer, in community, or maybe in moments they didn't even expect. For some, this looks like rhythm and trust of a team moving together. For others, it's found in solitude, a run, a lift, a quiet moment where something inside settles and something larger feels close. For many, it's also a form of healing, a way of returning to themselves through practices that ask them to stay, to listen, to keep going. At the same time, though, these stories remind us that not every space creates belonging. Communities, whether religious or athletic, can include or they can exclude. They can ask people to shrink, or they can allow them to expand. They can demand performance or make room for presence. What becomes clear is this: the body is not separate from the spiritual life. It is one of the places where it's most deeply felt, deeply experienced, whether it's in breath, in effort, in care, or connection. As we begin to see this, the boundaries between sacred and ordinary, between religion and everyday life, they actually begin to soften. Perhaps the invitation is not to redefine sport as religion or to shape religion entirely, but it's to recognize that the sacred is already present in more places than we have allowed ourselves to see.